for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. That's right, it's time for another edition of the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. We'll be talking with Blake coming up in just a second. In the meantime, let me give you some contact information because in the next 30 minutes, lots and lots of great information is coming your way and probably a lot of stuff that you'll want to get more information about. So to get in touch with Blake, it's really easy. Just call him at his office at Sloan Realty Group at 808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD, or go online to the website set up specifically for this radio program, blakesloan.com. blakesloan.com. If we went too fast, if you didn't get that information, don't worry, we'll repeat it several times over the next 30 minutes. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and bring him in. Here he is, Blake Sloan.
What's up, everyone? Got an awesome brand new show. I'm kind of battling sickness, about to lose my voice a little bit, so I'm going to get through it hopefully as fast and best as possible. But we have an awesome special guest today in the house, Branham. He's a well-known closing attorney here in town in Myrtle Beach, and he's going to provide some awesome value to you guys about closings, real estate, pitfalls, crazy stuff we see. We'll talk to him here in a few minutes. Also do a quick market update for anyone that missed last week's show, kind of where we're at, and we'll dig into the deep numbers. Next week, we've got some preliminary numbers in right now. Also talk about interest rates. We had some crazy few weeks. Had one of the biggest jumps in 2 years happened recently. We'll dig into what happened there, what's going on. We also just saw a quick dip or break in those rates as well this past week, which is awesome. And also get to a few of the things, hopefully, that we didn't get to last week, like those things where people are asking about actually those 8 cheap kitchen remodels for $500 or less. And also, of course, some brand new, really good success stories we got this week as well.
All right, a lot of stuff coming your way, as you heard, so you need to make sure to tune in. Like I said, if this is the first time, though, that you're turning into the show and you've never heard Blake Sloan before, let me give you a little bit of a background on him. He's been called the Real Estate Whiz Kid, been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, on NBC TV, Realtor magazine. You may have seen him on Fox and Friends, the morning show. You've heard the personal endorsements right here on this radio show from Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck, Barbara Corcoran. One by itself would be really nice. Put them all together, and they're just unprecedented. So every week we hear a little bit more about the trademark systems, Blake, that you have to help both buyers and sellers in the area. So why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown about what you do?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned before, I made a promise a long time ago. We talk about this every single week. And even one of the actual success stories I'm going to go over in a few minutes is one of these exact examples. And where I actually talked to them about it, heard on the show as well. So the bottom line is the single most important variable that determines your failure or success when you're buying a house or even selling a house comes down to one thing only. That's the agent that you choose, right? How the process works from A to Z. For example, when you sell a house, there's 118 different variables. We know that because we identified them, but if each one of those is handled correctly, it puts them in your pocket and or the house sells, right? So if any of those are handled incorrectly, guess what? That costs you money, part of your equity, and the house may or may not sell in that process. And so what we did, we obviously identified every single one of those points and create a system in place, create maximum leverage every single point for our client to give them the ultimate competitive advantage in the process. That's called the guaranteed sold system. Only proven system selling homes twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. For home buyers out there, we have an unfair advantage home buying system, right? Only proven system to get you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, and also the absolute best financing with the best lenders who basically are the most aggressive, who lend the most money for the best rates, and also a proven repeatable system for negotiation. That's called the unfair advantage home buying system, and definitely gives you the ultimate advantage when you're buying a house as well.
All right, well, we're just getting started on the show here this week. We've got a lot coming your way. Special guest in the studio. Plus, coming up very next, we got a real estate update, see what's going on in the market, and the most important numbers that you'll hear all weekend long. Interest rates, that's all coming your way in just a second as well. If you'd like to get in touch with Blake, you can. 808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD, or you can go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com. Welcome in. It's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Hey, it's your friend Sean Hannity. Now, if you own property
It's
in
like I got
Myrtle
like the
Beach,
deep
the
radio
national
voice.
marketing plan of Realtor
It's like the
Beach
deep radio guy.
is absolutely critical. And that's
Yeah.
exactly why you need
Sound
to
kinda like
talk to
Dave
Blake
today.
Sloan at Sloan Realty
I got-
Group. Now, Blake has
I got a
more
deep radio
business
voice going on, feels like.
than anyone else at Myrtle Beach. And so is featuring local
I can give you a few
around the
cigarettes,
world.
if that'll help.
Yeah, I know, right?
Always rely on on
Is that your trick, Dave?
Houses the radio occasional buyer. Blake attracts
Yeah.
hundreds of buyers each month.
That's funny.
Creates demand and helps your property sell fast and for top dollar. Now that's why on average Blake sells a property every single day of the year and is ranked among the top 100 agents in the entire U.S. by the Wall Street Journal. Now working with Blake is risk-free. Now if you're not happy, Blake gives you the freedom to cancel your contract and pay nothing. So give Blake a call today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or just go online and see Blake's interview on NBC at blakesguarantee.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corcoran. To sell your home on time for the most money, you need a sharp agent with a marketing strategy that
Really
creates
cool
the
to do
most
this stuff,
demand.
bro.
Bottom line, you
What's
need a
that?
partner
With building
willing to put
relationships
your
with these
own
guys.
money
Oh, it's
on the
amazing.
line
Yeah,
for
she's
you.
awesome. She's
How'd you
great.
get in
Myrtle
touch with
Beach, I would hire
Through
Blake
Glenn
Sloan.
Beck's people,
This
actually.
Really?
Yeah.
national marketing faces so much demand that if your home doesn't sell at a price or deadline you agreed to,
It's like my favorite
Blake
show,
will
dude.
buy it.
She's
Partner
awesome.
with the
Shark
agent
Tank.
I trust. Go online or call and get your home sold.
The Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake is available to you. Give him a call at 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD. Or go online to the website, blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com. Coming up in just a minute, latest on the interest rates. Right now, though, it's time to find out what's going on in the market. Your latest real estate update. Blake, what you
All
seeing?
right, some awesome new numbers in, and remember we talked about the new tool last week. We got this like real-time numbers. It's pretty cool actually. So it's like actually updating real time right now. And I guess some people put in some new sales that obviously happened in November. They didn't put them in, until now because some agents are just slack.
Right.
What you run into. But like for example, so last month's numbers for closed sales total, the sales are up 4.8% last month versus the same month last year. Okay, if you guys remember last week's show, it was 3.9%. So basically that enters some more sales, and which is pretty decent, helps us out a lot. Remember though, we talked about this before, and I was talking about this, been preaching this for a while. Actually called this last month. This number is not totally accurate. Okay, here's why. The previous month, you guys remember sales were down actually 24% last month, actually 25.2% last month in October. That was for one reason only. That was obviously the hurricane. Okay, there's a lot of deals that were supposed to close that had financing, had to push back. So in reality, I call that we'd have a huge amount of those actually close in November that were supposed to close in October. So if you look at the real numbers, sales are actually down. Okay, but that's just a lot of them pushed into December, kind of threw the numbers off, and we're probably down slightly. I would say between 5 and 10% negative. We actually have 4 months of decline in a row. This would actually have been the 5th, but this actually bumped it up because so many we went from a huge 9.4% decrease in sales to a 25.2% decrease in sales. So there's a lot more than it was. So that's kind of the one key thing there. Just remember, we'll get the final detailed numbers out. It comes out actually on next Tuesday. And we'll have this for next week's show for you, but kind of real-time numbers. The interesting thing I was looking at is you break it down by price range. So all price ranges last month, sales up 4.8%. Now, if you get to the $113,000 and below, sales are down 3.9% last month. Okay, that's for one reason only. There's just less inventory out there. There's less inventory out there overall in that price range. They're getting scooped up like crazy as well. If you look at the 113 to 169 range, sales are up 7%. And I'm actually getting to something important here, kind of point. 169 to 263,999. Sales up 7.3% last month. And check this out, the high end, 264 and above, was up 10% last month. So the highest increase in sales last month came to the mid to high end. Okay, so if you're listening out there, what's the one thing you guys want to take advantage of those opportunities? The hottest part of the market last month was the high end, or 265 and above. It's a kind of high end for our market, obviously, in that situation. So that's one of the key numbers. Obviously, a drop in sales in the low end, which is just less inventory. Anything that 100s, 150s gets scooped up in like hours, there's just not as much of it as it was. Like that's a lot of distress sales, foreclosure, and stuff that was out there as well. Looking at sales price up last month, 2.3% overall. And that's actually, real-time numbers is up from 2.1 when we had it last week. So overall November numbers up 2.3% overall in general, which is good. If you break it down on price range, it's still very similar, kind of all in that range. But we saw that kind of be whittled away where we had strong first and second quarter. Third was pretty good. We saw it kind of decline here. The remodel of sales, I do foresee potentially a small dip in prices first quarter, in the first quarter, maybe early second quarter, because we always know it's supply and demand driven, and the lagging indicator is always price, right? So we've seen a decline 4 months in a row of declining sales. Obviously not anything drastic, right? Maybe a small dip, kind of equaling itself out there as well, which is interesting. And the one thing too, kind of in regards to actual, homes on the market for sale, things like that, actually we're down 3.4% last month. So we're still seeing inventory decline, which we kind of knew that was happening. It always tends to happen. Now we'll see January. You're going to see a big spike in people who wait to the first year list their house, right? You're also going to see a big spike in spring as well. So long story short, November is much better than it was October, right? We're still kind of having some offset numbers there. Where that 25.2% decrease in October kind of, I guess, got forward. A lot of those closes got pushed into November, which kind of skewed that a little bit. I still, like I said, my opinion based on what we're seeing out there, probably, you know, a 5-10% decrease overall month versus this month versus the same month last year in decreases. So that's something we'll continue to watch. Overall, we're still seeing very, very strong list sale price ratios, which is pretty good. Like right now, you're getting, you know, 96.9% of asking price on every single one. So almost every house, if it's on average listed at 100,000, it's selling for 96,900, which is very, very good. Meaning there's less inventory out there, and people are actually paying, you know, pretty much top dollar for the ones that are priced right and priced correctly as well. So we'll continue to watch what happens going into first quarter next year. Obviously, the election, we've had some craziness and chaos in the interest rates, which we'll kind of talk about as well if you want to, Dave.
Sure, let's go ahead and find out what the interest rate's looking at. That's the most important number you can give us.
Absolutely. That's what we talk about. The number one mismanaged variable in the home buying process is interest rate, right? They focus solely on price of the house and the mismanagement. This is a perfect example here. So right now, 30-year fixed rate mortgage, 4.15%. Just to kind of give you guys a recap for the past few weeks. Last week it was 4.24, so it dropped back down in the past week, which is good. 2 weeks ago, 4.10. 3 weeks ago, 4.03. 4 weeks ago, 3.85. And 6 weeks ago, 3.39%. So you guys see a huge difference there in how much it's jumped up since the election, obviously. And we'll talk about that in a second. Right now today, 15-year fixed rate, 3.35%. A 30-year FHA is at 3.80%. And a jumbo loan, anything, you know, over $417,000, 4.22%. And a 5-year adjust rate mortgage, 3.01%. So that's something, obviously, we've seen it go ups and downs. Obviously, that comes down to the bond market. And while we've seen that happen, obviously, with a lot of speculation, what's going to happen going into this new, I guess you say, administration. And also, we're going to see a little more volatility with everybody saying every new cabinet member that gets, you know, introduced, you see some craziness in the stock market, bond market, things like that. One of the things to note from last week, though, we actually had, you know, an issue where rates jumped up slightly because there's news that the European Central Bank we're going to reduce the amount of bonds they're buying each month, kind of like tapering we had here. But it didn't really have that much of an effect because we already had such a knee-jerk reaction from the election, obviously. So it's still not really bad as it was from that standpoint. But remember, you know, 2 weeks ago, not this past week, week before, we had, you know, some of the highest levels in 2 years, which is kind of crazy. And we saw that huge, huge jump. And like I said, the pace that they actually happened had only been seen 2 other times in the last 30 years. One in 1987, one in 1996, which is pretty crazy, right? So we saw that happen. There's still some people that have a lot of fear, you know, going into hoping that rates don't affect too much the housing market going into to 2017. So we'll kind of watch that and see. But that's one thing right now. They definitely, every single economist right now, every single expert in entry I know is saying that this is the new norm. Those days of the 3.35s and, you know, mid to high threes are gone. So anybody think you want to take advantage of that, both on the seller side and on the buying side, right? Because your buying power comes in. We'll talk about that next week, a whole breakdown of how much buying power you lose, you know, per 1% interest rate increase. So it's one of those things that are pretty crazy out there as well. We'll talk about that in detail next week as well.
All right, sounds good. Still a lot of stuff coming your way in just a minute. Going to look at some success stories. We've got your hot buyers alert coming up in just as well, and still have a special guest in studio with us today. We'll talk to in just a couple of minutes, so stick around for that. It's all a part of the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. If you'd like to talk to Blake about anything that you've heard so far and maybe get some clarification on this and that, that's fine. Call him at Sloan Realty Group at his office, 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD, or you can go online to blakesloan.com. Blake Sloan.
I want to say that because that
is the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Do you want your home sold on time and for the most
we do
money
it up front. We may try to drag out BS.
Well, you have clients. I mean, you have listeners who are used to your show. So having that repetitive, you know, not repetitive, but having that structure keeps them.
When you get back, it'll be at about 15, so you got about 14 minutes left.
So I figure we'll take about 3. We'll do the success story, that part, and then we'll jump into special guests. Sure. We don't even got to do the break. That way we have plenty of time.
And you're handling the microphone?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Or he's going to buy. Plus, you don't really risk anything when you list with Blake. If he doesn't live up to the contract, you walk away free and clear. It's really no wonder why Sean Hannity and I, along with real estate tycoon and Shark Tank star Barbara Corcoran, endorse Blake. Call Blake Sloan right now, 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or visit Blake's website. That's blakesguarantee.com. blakesguarantee.com. Or listen to Blake's Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 9 or Sunday morning at 11:30 right here on WRNN.
Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Time right now for your hot buyers alert. Blake and his team working with a huge amount of home buyers looking for homes in the Myrtle Beach area. Big range, anywhere between $150,000 to $3.5 million. If you're in that range and even just thinking about selling, or just want to test the waters, contact Blake immediately. He needs inventory. His phone number is 808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD. And he'll help you out there. Now, Blake also gives me a little bit of privy information every week when he comes in. And we're almost at 30,000, Blake, as far as the people we have active home buyers. Just underneath of that, on his websites, he's got so many people that come by, not just on a weekly basis or monthly basis to see what's available in the Myrtle Beach area. He's got people from all over the world checking several times a day and checking back just so they can be the first person to maybe get their hands on a brand new property. Last count was 29,936. Blake, like I said, right under 30,000. That's a lot of people.
We're close, about to make that big jump. That's more than a lot of different, big companies have all put together. So a massive amount. These aren't people who are just like hits. That's the one question I always get. Those like hits? No, these are people who actually have an account with us. Username, password, login, all that stuff, and they're searching continuously. Right now on the site, Betsy Allen, she's been here 183 visits and looked at 321 properties. Robert Dilly, fresh, he's just been here less than a month, 15 visits. Karen McCant, been here 50 visits. So long story short, these people actually have an account with us. They're searching. We have, like Dave said, a global reach. Okay, we have buyers from China, Dubai, majority of them from up north. We have tons and tons of buyers that we bring in. So how do we do that? Right, we have a different business model. It allows me to spend more money to acquire buyer clients. I outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint, which in turn, as a home seller, gives you a much bigger advantage because we actually make a bigger funnel to drive traffic to your house, right? The more chance we have more buyers, obviously increase the chance that they like your house, they see it, and they'll pay more money for it. And so that's why our houses sell faster than the MLS average, also for more money than the MLS average, because our team allows us to actually push buyers and have buyers agents. We have 8 buyers agents all day long, every day. All they do is they hunt. They basically bring buyers in to our listings if we have it, share it with them, and sell it if we do have it. If not, we take them MLS and sell them something else. So a huge advantage out there for anybody thinking about selling. But if you're thinking about selling, don't wait. Don't wait to call me. Don't wait till the 1st. Don't wait till the 2nd week of January. Call me right now. At least get the plan in place for the 1st of the year, and don't just sit around and get behind the 8 ball. I think we put on the listing side 5 or 6 under contract just in the past couple of days when everybody else says it's slow. It's definitely not slow from that standpoint. So that's just me personally, not counting obviously my entire team and everybody else, but things are moving. Buyers who are buying right now are serious. Okay, and we're seeing that challenge in inventory. A few people say, hey, let's go ahead and get on December, but we've already got it under contract because you're not fighting the 3 neighbors in your street who's going to try put their house in the market January 1st, right? So reach out, call me now, at least get a plan in place beforehand. You don't have to actually have it on the market now, but definitely get a plan in place so we can start you January 1st, at least the 1st, 2nd week of January. And if you want, go into a quick success story because it's important to me. It's my favorite part, especially when they're listeners. So first one, who's also a listener, Rick, he came to us with hopes to buy another house and get his current home sold. Now, he was obviously a little concerned about that. He wasn't exactly sure, because he actually had to sell his first. He had just retired and was on a fixed income now. So that's something we kind of ran into. And so what we did, we helped him get one of our aggressive lenders that we had, got him qualified, got him under contract on the buy side. Then at the same time, simultaneously, use our unmatched global marketing, get his home sold for a top dollar amount of weeks, right? So we tell people all the time, it's a delicate dance, and we're very, very good at doing that. That's also what our guarantee comes in place if people need it, right? We can actually guarantee she's not stuck owning 2 homes at the same time or things like that. So awesome example there. Another one I'm really, really proud of too. Paul and Pam, they came to us as a referral from a past client who's also a radio show listener. So he's a listener, past client of ours, and referred his friends to us. Why is that? Because they had already built their home, right? They had been living in it and burning through savings while their property is listed with another agent for 8 months. They had no action, no offers, right? Just sitting there vacant, nothing happened to it, obviously stressing them out, getting into their wits end. So we were able to obviously come in, help them. The listener referred them to us. They actually walked into our office. We were able to implement our unmatched global marketing system, have under contract in less than 7 days. Okay, so 8 months, no action, no offers, anything. We came in, professional photos, marketing, team, less than 7 days under contract. Okay, and this is this past week now, okay, in December. So that's the one thing so if you have friends out there, we say this, be sure to refer your friends. People it's important, they need this. You have friends out there burning through their savings, burning through money because they listened to somebody else they knew or just, is not a true professional. Make sure to reach out to the best, have them call us, 843-808-SOLD, important there as well. Last one here for this week, also a shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They're listeners of ours, awesome, amazing clients. They had an amazing property listed with 2 other agents for us unsuccessfully, right? Finally, they called us. We were able to get that property in Tillman Estates under contract this week. And we also sold their investment condo they had, which is in River Oaks, all in a matter of weeks. So this happens over and over and over again. And every single time, the one thing I always hear is, man, we should have called you earlier. So don't be in that situation. Don't waste 8 months. Don't waste 900 days. I see that all the time too. Reach out and call me now, 843-808. So if you have somebody at Christmas you're talking about you can get their house sold, guess what you need to do? Tell them you got to call Blake. BlakeSloan.com or 843-808-SOLD. And there's tons and tons of other stories we talk about every single week. How much time we got left, David?
Oh, we got 9 minutes left.
Okay, let's bring in our special guest. Obviously, I'm pretty excited about this. But last thing there with that one, the fact is your agent matters, okay? I hear these stories, and I'm not going through the other 5 horror stories I heard this week as well, but it matters who you choose. Make sure that they're so appreciative of you guys out there listening. Refer us somebody. It means the world to us, and obviously it means a lot for us to be able to help them, make sure we take very, very, very good care of them. So back to the special guest real quick. Great friend of mine, Brett Branham. He's from Clemens Law Firm. What's up, Brett? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Brett's one of the top closing attorneys in town. Super knowledgeable. I've known him for years and years. We actually went to school together. But obviously, our company does business with them. Very great over there. And it's one thing I want to bring on as a guest to provide value to you guys out there. And, Brett, we were talking earlier. What are the kind of things that a lot of people don't want to see? Why do I need a closing attorney? What do you guys do versus places like title states? What would you kind of give them the overall exactly what you guys do in the closing process?
Yeah, so every state's different, of course. Every state has their own laws. South Carolina has their own laws, and the Supreme Court of South Carolina has actually identified 5 areas that are considered the practice of law in South Carolina. Those are, the first would be reviewing title to ensure that title is properly conveyed over in a real estate transaction, reviewing lending documentation, executing documents, what a lot of people consider to be the closing, and then recording those documents at the county courthouse, and then dispersing funds associated with the transaction. Those 5 areas are specifically the practice of law.
And they don't realize how much work goes ahead of time before they show up at that closing.
Oh, for sure.
Like, well, paralegals, and we were going back and forth a million times with everybody. And, that's one of the things we were talking about earlier. People don't realize this is for most people their largest asset, right? And what are some of the crazy pitfalls and different things that you see in the marketplace all the time?
Well, I think the most important thing is managing expectations from our side, right? So from our perspective, helping our client know exactly what the process is. Like you were saying, most people just want to show up to the close, and they don't really know what happens preparatory to that closing. But just like you're saying, choosing an agent is very important. It's the same way if you're choosing a lender or you're choosing a closing attorney. It's very important to have someone that's knowledgeable in the area who knows how to avoid those pitfalls. Some of the pitfalls are just as simple as reviewing the contract.
Right.
Reviewing the contract, making sure that what you want is actually communicated in the document.
We talk about this all the time, and we were talking about it before the show, and I deal with this weekly. The stuff we see will blow your mind sometimes. So you see the same exact thing. You're talking about stuff, like 3 or 4 instances in the past, day, 2 days, sorry, with for example, with what the contract or something was missing the contract or.
Yeah, so the MLS listing, which identifies the property, it identified that the refrigerator would be included, the washer and dryer would be included. However, when it came to the contract, nothing in the contract actually stated that those items would be conveyed over in the transaction. Of course, South Carolina being a 4-corner state, meaning that whatever's in the 4 corners of that document, of that contract,
That's all that matters, right?
That's all that matters.
Right.
And because it wasn't included, it came to the attention of the buyer that those items that they expected to be
We're there.
included in the contract weren't there.
And that's one thing that, back to what I was saying a minute ago, your agent matters, right? Your attorney matters. Same thing. It's just like, if you're charged with a crime you didn't commit, you want the absolute best. You want somebody who's just, your friend's brother's buddy, from wherever else, right? Yeah. So that's the key here. And stuff we see the same thing. We get contracts we're talking about with blanks in them. There's nothing even in them. It has like their last name and that's it. And that's what people understand. That's what matters. Nothing else really matters except what's in that contract, right?
You're exactly right.
Especially when you come to, what are some of the other big pitfalls and stuff that you see, daily or kind of in that game that you have?
Well, it's important. I think managing expectations is so important, especially when you're representing someone, whether you're an agent or whether you're an attorney. Managing expectations is so important. And the one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want your client not to know how things are going to go. And the two items that take the longest amount of time for a closing are preparing title to ensure that the title is properly conveyed and waiting on a lender. Those items are the items that take the longest period of time, and helping your client understand that there will be a time constraint based upon those 2 items goes a long way to managing your client's expectations.
And like you mentioned too, there's a lot of times there's things that can be done if something comes up on title, there's an issue on title. You guys can take and be proactive in that, which they obviously are. But we see it all the time. We have like a lot of see the foreclosure attorneys. They go through the foreclosure. we get all the way to the closing table to the next transaction. They just left something out, right?
Oh,
And that's
exactly
what
right.
who you use actually matters, And so, what tips and tricks and stuff anybody out there you see? Anything else? Like, what's some of the craziest stuff that you see that why people need to make sure they use stuff or stuff that they can watch out for as homeowners, somebody looking to buy or sell?
Well, the most important thing is to be active.
Right.
Even though you have an agent, it's still important for you to communicate to that agent. Don't just solely rely on that agent. And when I say that, what I mean is don't rely on them to communicate to you. Feel free to communicate back to them as well.
Right, and make sure to double check. And that's one thing too. Have somebody look it over. That's something you guys, they obviously that's what as an attorney you're there to draw documents up, draw drafts up. A lot of things. If there's some gray area, a lot of times they can obviously have a separate service they do to help make sure that you type all that stuff up, in a real agreement that's actually enforceable and can hold up in court because we see all kind of crazy stuff. And that's one thing that a lot of times you see people that their stuff on title that they obviously have that make sure they're able to make sure you see anything pop up on like the title searches or anything at all that could have slipped through or anything that's pretty scary. What's some of the craziest things you've ever seen out there?
Well, it's always good to give good heads up. So a lot of people don't understand that there's a lot of issues that can hinder your title. For example, the government has an interest in your property through taxes. They can put a lien against your property that can hold up title conveying.
Oh yeah.
Homeowners associations, it's a huge area of law that's developing throughout the United States as more and more developments have associations that govern their members.
It's like the Wild West out there.
It is like the Wild West. But your homeowners association, which is run by regular people just like you and me, they have an interest in your property as well. They can put liens against your property, and all those issues can hinder title.
Oh yeah, we've seen a whole closings, things like that. I had to go back and negotiate back and forth with the HOA, and a lot of times we've seen the homeowner said they did pay it, the HOA said they didn't pay it. A lot of stuff there, obviously, to make sure. That's well, make sure obviously they know exactly what funds to bring to closing, right? They know it ahead of time. Anything else you've seen like craziness or anything that you've seen that's like super. We see, like I saw one time, my mom actually I was in the business and she said one time had a property that sold and like some Indians, basically Heritage had some rights, so they try to claim to the property and they're going back to title insurance, which is something you guys also help them get, right? Title insurance is huge because crazy things can come up. Somebody come back from 100 years ago and lay claim to the property somehow. And that way you're protected from that standpoint, which is also something that you guys do. So if anybody wants to reach out and get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Just give our law firm a call. Again, we're with Clemens Law Firm, 843-448-4246, or feel free.
I do the same thing.
Feel free to email me, brett@clemenslaw.com.
And you guys practice all types of law, right?
Yeah, we do. We do. If you do have HOA issues or if you have any kind of general litigation items, we'd love to help. Of course, our specialty is real estate. And by specialty, I mean our particular focus for our law firm. We're a real estate law firm. So we'd love to help you with any of those items.
Awesome. And last thing, too, real quick, I appreciate you coming in, Brett. He'll be part of the show going forward sometimes. We're in huge growth mode 2017, right? We have, like you said, 30,000 leads. There's, less than 5,000 houses in the market. So if you're thinking about leveling up your career, leveling up your life, your marriage, everything, reach out to me. We're growing as a team. We do all areas of life. We don't just grow your business. We grow all areas of life through coaching, mentorship, leads, training, all that. So if you look at leveling up your life and you want to join a winning team, reach out to me at 843-808-SOLD. You can go to, obviously, BlakeSloan.com and reach out as well. Or just basically give me a call and say, hey, look, I want to be a part of you guys, be a part of what you're doing, and I'd like to have an opportunity to interview with you as well.
All right. Well, Brad, and also Blake, we appreciate your time here today. A lot of great information, and that same phone number is good if you'd like to get in touch with Blake, just to find out what's up and see what is happening as far as the numbers you were hearing about, the information you've been hearing about. 808-SOLD, that's 843-808-SOLD. Anytime you'd like to call Blake at Sloan Realty Group or go online to blakesloan.com. Blake, we'll do it again next week.
Absolutely.
All right. Have yourself a great one. It's been the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Hey, it's your friend Sean Hannity. Now, if you own property